This episode is brought to you by Bellator's Publishing, bringing stories to the world that last forever.
Today on Faithfully Fantasy.
Are we not going to talk about Narelle's hair? We get grey hair descriptions for old people. We get white hair descriptions for old people in these books.
Yeah.
We do not get silver hair. I have a feeling that Narelle is somehow related to Dune. I have a bit of a theory here, which is some mega world building if it's true. You have magic in the ground. You have magic in the sky. We're aware of both of those things. I just have a sneaky feeling there also might be magic in the ocean.
My theory is that Berwyn is Tecarus. Hello and welcome to Faithfully Fantasy,
The husband and wife podcast talking all things Onyx Storm.
I'm JC.
And I'm Sean.
And today we cover chapters 21 through 23. And just heads up, we use strong language, express passionate opinions, and explore complex themes. So listening to the description is advice.
This episode will contain spoilers from all three books, as well as snippets of information we've had from Rebecca Yarros since the release of Onyx Storm.
Also, if you love getting lost in theories with us, you can now get even more exclusive monthly content, early episodes access, and totally ad-free listening. Try it free, cancel anytime, and the best part, we got you covered, so you can choose the plan that fits you best. Go to faithfullyfantasy.com, or if it is easier, subscribe directly on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And without further ado, let's start with the squad brief.
So this week we fly for Corden, some in more style than others. I'm not laughing at the basket though. I would much prefer that to clinging to the back of a dragon with nothing but my fingertips and my thigh muscles. Tecarus welcomes them to his palace, but there's extra security and there's no room in his massive palace, so they have to bunk up. Is Xaden a professor here? Absolutely not. Holden gets on his boat to Deverelli and we follow a few hours later with the squad. We lose magic as soon as we fly over the ocean, but unlike the others, Violet can still mind talk with Tairn and Andarna. We trade dragons for horses and bask in the glorious rays of Xaden's good mood. We find the bookstore, we find Narelle, and we find the rest, well, some more, of Daddy Sorrengail's research.
Yes, so we leave the continent and we start to see a little bit of the Isle Kingdom.
Yeah, this is I loved this book from the get-go because obviously of what came before, and I was desperate to know what happened in this book, but this is really where I couldn't put it down. I was totally wrapped up in the Isle Kingdoms and the gods and the links. Loved it.
Yes. So many things that we need to explore about this, because obviously we had the culture, we had the religions, the gods that they pray in every single island, so there's some more stuff that we had to see in this one. Alright, time for a history lesson. Let's dive deep and see what the past is hiding about the future. Chapter 21.
Chapter 21. The Epigraph. Tyrrendor was the last to cut contact with the Isles. The province has a reputation for its cunning leadership, but in this case, I would add, astute. Subjugated the second uprising of the Cravelin people by Lieutenant Colonel Asher Sorrengail. My first question about this, did he know that Xaden's mom was from the Isle Kingdom?
That's a really good question, because we don't know if there's more trace apart of that, and that's like a really important one, because we're talking about alliance between Tyrrendor and the Isle Kingdom. So I'm not sure if it's talking specifically about that, but that has to be something that somebody has Asher when in the radar.
Yeah, I think he found out when he went to Xaden. So when you read this, you think it could mean hundreds of years ago, it could mean 50 years ago, it could mean 20 years ago, just before Xaden was born. I mean, a bit more than 20 years, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
I think it is talking about Xaden's mum, because not only does it say that they were the last to trade and to kind of make deals with the Arkingdoms. But it also talks about cunning and cunning leadership and astute. And if you think about all the isles that we get to travel to, which one is the most cunning? Haedian.
Haedian, yeah.
So that's the one that Xaden's mom is on. So I think this is 100% talking about Xaden's mom.
Yes, because if you think the Tyrrendor is being always like the second in command in the continent, because it's one of the largest province, as the one that put more people for their army, so they are like really important.
Also has like biggest minerals, because later Xaden can like pull the trade from Tyrrendor and it causes loads of problems.
Yes, so if to that you added having an agreement or an alliance with the Isle Kingdoms, that makes Tyrrendor something to have in consideration, and probably the king will start to see it as a threat because it's getting too much power.
Yeah.
So we start the chapter with flying. We're going to Advine, and we're going to fly the 28 hours. This is just to test the flyers, giving a little bit preparation, some endurance before the big journey to the Isles.
Well, that's what everyone thinks. It's not,
yes.
though, is it? It's because Violet doesn't want Xaden to touch the ground, so she's keeping them in the sky as much as possible. On the way to Corden, it says we fly over scorched and desiccated land, avoiding where the Venin are, based on the intel that Drake has provided. Do you think Drake has just provided intel on the location of the troops because he's been on the front lines, he knows where they are? Or do you think he provided more intel?
So far it looks that Drake is the expert in Venin. So
he literally wrote the book.
Yes. So he's kind of like the Kaori and Dragon's Bow in Venin. So I'm guessing that he knows what they're doing, where they are. So he knows like a lot of stuff. Probably he got people that can help tracking the Venin, the movement. So I'm guessing there's more about make sure that the Venin are not going to interfere with the mission.
Mm.
So we have the dragons, we have the flyers, and also we have a basket, especially for Holden.
Don't knock the basket, honestly.
I'm trying, but it's so hard.
I mean, it's supposed to be like a basket. It's not a wicker basket that you take to the market. It's a traveling basket.
Yes, I don't know why, but I was thinking there was, at the beginning, I was picturing something like, these baskets when they had like a cobras. They're like really long baskets, the cobra is inside.
Yeah, with little handles.
Yes, I was thinking there was something
like
that.
We have one with a little tree in it, don't we?
Yes. But I'm now picturing more like a air balloon with a basket.
Yeah, hot air balloon, totally.
Yes.
That's what it is. Like, I think if he sits down, he's sheltered from the wind. He can look up at it. Like, I mean, everyone's laughing at this, but I would be far more comfortable, like I said at the top of the show, like, in this basket than I would be clinging with my thighs to the edge, because not everyone has a saddle.
Yes. So they have to spread their legs to gain the sense, distance on the back of the dragon.
Yeah, exactly. Basically doing the split.
Yeah.
So, no, I'd take the basket. I'd have snacks. It would be great.
Yeah, probably have like a seat or something. So, well, yeah. Even if I just sit down on the floor. Yeah.
Probably got a little velvet cushion. But he spent 24 hours in that thing. And this conversation that Tairn and Violet has, Violet was like, you could just carry the basket, basically. And Tairn says, no, we could just leave him behind.
Mm-hmm.
This just, again, is another bit of evidence that dragons do absolutely nothing for anybody if they don't get something in return. They see Holden as totally useless. They don't recognise the rank of a prince or the king.
It's a royal family, yes.
Yeah. This is another sign that they just wouldn't do anything for the riders if they weren't getting something in return. And yes, I understand they're getting the wards, they're getting the protection of the Vale, but they're also building an army. And I can't see any other explanation now than that the dragons are actually the real villains of the story. I'm so convinced of this that I would be really, really surprised. Now, I can't work out if it's all dragons or if it's the Empyrean and actually Tairn, Andarna, Sorrengail, Aetrum, Tiny, the Eurasian riot, whether they're rebelling against the Empyrean as well. Only time will tell. Like, I don't want to believe that Tairn is bad. I just don't know if he knows he's been corrupted.
I definitely think there's a difference between the dragons. They're not bonded with riders, because we know there's some dragons after lots of years bonded with a rider. If the rider dies, the dragon might die as well, because the bond is so strong. So definitely being in the mind of the human, that has to have some affection or something.
That actual epigraph says it's only been known to happen in 2 cases. And there is speculation that epigraph or that book was written after the events of the series, and it could actually be Tairn and Sorrengail.
Yeah.
After the death of Xaden and Violet. But I don't believe they're going to die. This is a love story. I don't think they're going to die. So, no. Basically, I'm not having it. I'm going to go into book 5 blissfully unaware of how... I mean, first I'll go into book 4 blissfully unaware of how bad it's going to get.
It will be brutal if in the end we find out this exactly that, when we have like the clues already there, and you're like, no, I don't...
Should be the death of me, the 2 that die. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if that's going to be the end, then Rebecca Yarros had to come with something so good that you had it was the only way, or yes.
Yeah, the
it's sad, but it's still good.
I'm not going to say them, but I would imagine most of our readers have read this particular fantasy series. There is one in particular that I'm thinking of, and the main character died at the end, and basically the fans went mad. Like, they hated it. So I just don't know. But I think that it's absolutely something Rebecca Yarros would do, but I think she would do it in a way where we weren't mad about it. Like, she would get us to the point where we weren't going to be mad.
Heartbroken, not just angry.
Yeah, but she always has happy endings. They're heartbreaking and tragic, and they're not happy in the way that you expect it to be happy, but they are generally happy. Like, well, the ones I've read anyway. I read all of them, but...
Yeah. The only thing that I'm not sure is because this is, I think, is the first fantasy series that she writes. So I don't know how she's going to put the style in a fantasy. Because obviously she's an expert in romance, because that's what she does the most. But in this one, it's going to be like a really like hard feeling if you're going through like the 5 books, and then by the end it doesn't end as you expect, and it's not the end that you wanted, and then you might feel that you went through 5 books to end then a way that you are not agreed.
Yeah, but like, as a reader, I don't think we have any right to have an expected ending. It's her story. Like, she can end it how she wants. Like, we're just along for the ride, the dragon ride.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel like I've got an expected... I won't be disappointed, or... I just have, like... I'm just trying to make everyone feel a bit better about it as well. I just have complete faith that she's going to end it well. Like,
yeah.
Even if it's tragic and terrible, we'll all feel good about it. It'll be... And, like, this is coming from someone who seal clapped, like, and cheered when Xaden turned Venin. I was like, yes! Such a good story. Awful. Like... worrying, heartbreaking, like those types of things. But it was such a good story. I loved it.
The only thing that we can be all agree is that Rebecca Yarros trying to put like a lot of realism in the stories. So she has a background of military family. So she knows that in a war, not always everyone has a happy ending. So she tried to put all of that in this book that is about war.
Yeah.
So... let's see how it goes.
We're gonna have our hearts ripped out, but I think she'll rebuild them piece by piece.
So they finally make it to Corden. Holden is the one who just go out. He's had to rip everything out because he's desperate to go out after so many hours in the little basket. Tecarus is there to receive him, so he's really happy to see Drake that is there, because he's like, oh, that's the boy, or my boy, or something like this.
The Venin expert.
Yes. Which is weird, but obviously there's some kind of like a feelings. In the end, I get like it's kind of like a family. Drake is cousin of Serena and Catriona, so I don't know in which level he will be like family or Tecarus, if there's any kind of like family branch on that side, because in the end, all of them are Cordella.
Yeah, so Uncle Tecarus. So let's just hypothesize that Kat and Serena's dad is Tecarus's brother.
Mm-hmm.
If they are cousins, then they could have had another sibling. Like Kat and Serena's dad had a sister who is also the sister of Tecarus.
Mm-hmm.
They would be cousins and Drake would be a nephew. So Drake is Tecarus' nephew. Kat and Serena are Tecarus' nieces, but they have different parents.
Yeah.
That's it. Cracked it. If only I could do the same with Xaden's fucking family tree, and then I'd work out why Bodhi is a cousin, but doesn't look like a cousin. He looks like a brother, but he can't do it.
Yeah, the Xaden one is already complicated.
Yeah.
And more when we come to Sagel's first rider.
Yes. Speaking of Kat, she just like prances off her griffin as though she hasn't just spent 24 hours flying from Alpine. And my theory on this is that griffins are just more comfortable to ride than dragons.
Yeah, I imagine the griffins are more like a big horse. So only you are able to maybe to keep your legs like closer than a dragon.
Big lion. Got broad shoulders.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think... And also, like, they've not got scales. They've got fur and feathers at that point. So I don't think it would chafe as badly. Well, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's mostly this passage is just to kind of another annoying thing about Kat. She's just so good at everything, isn't she? But
yeah,
I don't get annoyed by Kat anymore. I quite like her in this book.
Yeah, there's a point where even I felt like sorry for her.
Yeah, even in these chapters, like when she just shrugs later when Xaden's in his good mood.
Yeah, like you said, Kat is like full of energy, full of beans. Violet is not. She's really tired. She's like struggling to walk, carrying all her stuff. Tecarus, the one who said that, oh, I'm really sorry, I had a lot of people here, so we had like not many rooms available. The only ones available are the ones on the top. So she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired and I need to go to the top of this palace. So she even sent a message to Tairn, like, would you still like choosing me if I had to crawl all the way to the top? And then say that, the one who replies, you won't be crawling or you're not crawling. And she's like,
Inntinsic alert.
Path. Yes. So I think this is just like another sign that at this point, Xaden is full inntinnsic. He's not reading intentions. He's reading the minds of the people around him.
Yeah. And do you think it is a Venin superpower that's magnifying it, or do you think it is just his signet getting stronger?
I genuinely believe is the Venin side is boosting the signet, because at the beginning of this book, when he was going to see Jack Barlow, he said that his shadow they are stronger. Even he said like whatever it is this, making the shadows stronger. So he feels this boost and the signet, and he has two signets. So the other one, he got just a couple of months after the shadows. Even after 3 years later, he's still just reading intentions. From Onyx Stone at the beginning to this point, it's been just a few weeks. He's reading already thoughts. So I think as the Venin side that's given this boost for the two sickness. So the shadows are stronger, and now he is like an inntinnsic.
So I believe is an inntinnsic. What I think is possibly the Venin power is speeding it up, but I think he was already able to read thoughts, because there's several times in the previous books, even in Fourth Wing, where Violet was like, I didn't say that out loud, And at those times, we know that he was reading her mind, but they weren't intentions. They just weren't. And it got more so in Iron Flame, I think. I wish I had some examples to give, but I genuinely don't think... I think it's been evolving for a while. I think possibly the Venin power just gave it a bit of a boost, but I think it's for a while he's been able to read more than just intentions, and possibly he's in denial because he doesn't want to believe that he's been doing that. What I do think the Venin power is doing is making him do it without realizing. So previously he had to make a conscious effort to read someone's intentions or read someone's thoughts, and there was like a tingling in the scalp and stuff, and he seemed to be able to control when he did it. I think the Venin power is making him do it without realizing, which is really dangerous. So you mentioned that Tecarus said there was additional security where there's loads of people around. And then Violet says this palace wouldn't stand a chance if anyone tried to attack it. And the person who built it must have known that. So I have a theory that Tecarus is definitely in with the Venin. I think it's odd that Corden is the only place that has been left alone. Even if it's to the south, so it's not directly on their route to the Vale. It does have a huge amount of untapped magic that they can drain. Tecarus is in with them. I think he's possibly done a deal with the Venin. I know we've talked about this before. We don't really know exactly what type of deal he's done, but I think he's got lots of fingers in lots of pies. I think there's no reason why Queen Mariah would have given him or would have made him her next in line to the throne. He's a distant relative. I think, one, he did a deal with Mariah to give her what she wanted in return for her nominating him as her heir. And I think he's done a deal with the Venin. I think he's playing a long game. The Venin are leaving him alone for some reason. I can't quite work out what the deal might be, but I do think that he's in with the Venin somehow.
From day one in Iron Flame with Tecarus just did this appearance, it's something that we all can be agreed is there's something dodgy about Tecarus. Like you say, he might have some relationship with the Venin. I have a theory about it as well. And it just hit me when I was reading this chapter, because when Tecarus was talking to Xaden, like, oh, how I should address you as a lieutenant, professor, Duke of Tyrendor, and he's just smiling. And Violet, again, she put that reference, flashing those impossible white teeth. So this theory, boom, hit me. My theory is that Berwyn is Tecarus. And before you say anything about it, let me explain why I'm thinking this. So in Iron Flame, the first time when we see Tecarus, he sees as a tall man. He's a man that it was all dressed with a deep blue robe. The first time that we see Berwyn, he comes in a wyvern and he is wearing royal blue. So we had these two references there, blue and blue. Berwyn is the only one who wears blue, because the other Venin, normally the robes are purple. Maybe the one from the Dreams of Violet, the first one, is like maybe like maroon, yes. But Berwyn is the only one with blue. Then, those impossible white teeth. The way that she say it is like it just looks fake, or there's something going on that is not real. The other description is that he had a lot of like heavy jewelry all around. We know that you can make runes, and there's some crystals that can boost the power of the runes. So
they just boost the power.
Yeah, they boost the power.
Lesser magic, not runes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing that I was thinking, either could be the Berwyn is camouflage himself, like with a masking rune to keep this.
Or they just can do it, because if he's an Atom or a Maven.
Yes, because something else that we heard from Jack Barlow is that the Great Hall could be full of Sage or Maven, and I will not. He's a Venin. Neither you, says to Violet. which means that they can change appearance and they can look completely human. The other thing is that, yes, Corden is there. The Venin always goes around. We've been thinking that's because Tecarus has a deal with the Venin, but it's just because Tecarus is the big boss and nobody mess with the big boss. So obviously they go around, and he built this massive palace they just made for art decoration because he knows nobody's going to come closer to destroy anything there. And the other bits, there is putting more strong evidence. When he was fighting with Xaden, the Xaden was basically beat up on the floor. He's telling him, I told you that you're going to turn for love. And Xaden says, you know shit about me. And he says, I know more than you think.
Mm.
So he's like, why? Because you're a sage? No, I'm a general. But I think the reason is because Xaden has been living with Tecarus a couple of times. He was engaged with Catriona. And Tecarus had been really close to Xaden to see him, how he was treating Catriona first. He knew that he wasn't in love, but he knows Xaden is in love with Violet, and he will do everything for her.
I mean, it's absolutely wild and it's absolutely bonkers, but I love it. I can think of a few things to help support your theory as well. One, Tecarus has this gift, but we've never seen a griffin. We've never seen his griffin. We just assumed that he's a griffin flyer, and that's how he has this gift of knowing what people want. He's very quick to suggest a boat for Holden because you can't arrive in a basket. What if because he knows he's got to go, he can't get there without a griffin. Yeah. And people would be really suspicious. He can't go on his wyvern, can he? So, yeah, that might be why he's suggesting they go by boat.
That's actually a really good proof as well, because like you say, he has this gift. We know as well Berwyn, he's a dream walker. He knows maybe what the people desire because he can go to the mind of the people and see literally what the people desire.
Yeah, I think he could be a mind walker. I also wonder, he's got this fighting pit that he said the stones came from the Breivik border.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe they were just normal stones, but he drained them. It's like, oh yeah, I got them from over there.
Yeah, it's true. It's maybe like some snacks for him.
Yeah.
He said that, that's coming from the Baron, but no, he's draining.
He just drained it. And another thing, have you ever seen them in the same room? Have you ever seen Tecarus and Berwyn in the same room together? I haven't.
Yeah, I think that is like...
That's it. Concluded. Yes. We need like one of those hammer. Just like, that's the story now.
True.
Yeah, I think you've convinced me. Berwyn is Tecarus in disguise.
Yeah. Sounds wild, but at the same time, it's like makes sense. If we keep going with the chapters, then Holden is the one who said that Xaden is not a professor, that he doesn't have any power in the place as a professor. So Xaden take as an advantage and okay, you want to make it clear that I'm not a professor anymore. And then he grabs Violet and boom, straight away to the run. And Violet like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you did this. And he was like, really? From all the things that I have done, this is the thing that most impressed you?
Yeah, I didn't get this bit at all. I just carried on reading and I was like, what's he doing? Why is he being so weird? And then it got to the room and I was like, yeah, I get it now. Took me ages.
Really?
I was stressed. Reading this whole book.
For me, it was all the opposite. Because when he was mentioned, he was playing with Holden's temple, and he was just like, but I know that. Are you sure? That it's clear. So, I know what he's doing. That he wanted to say that, okay, I'm not professor now, I can just be with Violet. So for me, we're like, come on, move, come on. And then we took it to the bedroom, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting just now we are together, grab the hands or something, and there's nothing that you can do or something. But he was straight away boom.
I liked this whole bit because Xaden was like holding her up with his shadows. He could tell that she was struggling. He was basically like holding her by the hips, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Which actually I could have done with you doing that to me yesterday when I fell down the side of a mountain. And you didn't. Well, you did rescue me. You just had to come back. And so, just for everyone's benefit, we were hiking in the hills, and our child, 4-year-old, just absolutely bombed it down this really steep slope.
And a bicycle.
And one of my legs went after him, the other one stayed where it was. And I ended up kind of sliding, doing the splits, twisting my knee, and I just sat on the floor. And I was like, help, I can't get up.
Yeah, and the best part was that he went like really fast. He just braked like no problem.
He was fine, but then he...
And then you are just on the top and the floor.
Oh, if only you were a shadow daddy and you rescued me with your shadows.
It was really sunny, so nothing that I can do with shadows.
You only have shadows when it's sunny.
Well, according with Xaden, the shadows are stronger at night.
Yeah,
and
that's
weaker
weird. Doesn't
with the
make
light.
sense.
I mean, it makes sense if you are like surrounded by lights.
He's
then
like
you
a
have
dark
shadow,
wheel
so
to
you have like
Venin,
a
isn't
dot, and then you have not much shadows to pull.
I guess it does make sense if he can control the shadow of the earth, because basically the sun is casting the shadow. I mean, the other side of the earth is casting the shadow on them.
Yeah.
All right then. Okay.
Yeah. So sorry, can't do anything. I help you to stand up.
You did help me. Thank you.
I nearly fall as well, but really slippery.
That would have been so funny if our son was just at the bottom of the hill and we were both falling over and he was fine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Feeling embarrassed.
Yeah. Oh my God, get up, guys. What are you doing?
Okay, so going back to the story. Xaden is with Violet and the Ron, but they obviously, every time they had a moment, somebody has to interrupt. And this time is no exception. It's Tecarus. There he goes there. Berwyn. Tairn, yeah, I like it.
Nobody's going to get that. We're going to be calling him Terwyn now forever.
Yeah. And he's the one that says the Holden can go there in a basket. It's not possible. They just look really bad. It can't be.
Convenient.
Yes, like I had a good ship, so I can take it. You guys just rest here. I'm being just really considering with you guys. Just have a break, and I'll take it. And everyone like, yeah, happy with that. But then he was saying as well, like, are you gonna be ready to just lose all connection with magic?
Yeah. He says you're prepared to lose your abilities. It'd be interesting to see if they come back. First thing about that is that he knows that I think he must lose his abilities when he goes over the water. I thought that was because he was a griffin flyer, but now you make me think that Venin have no power because they lose access to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bit of a theory here, which is some mega world building if it's true. You have magic in the ground. You have magic in the sky. We're aware of both of those things. I just have a sneaky feeling there also might be magic in the ocean. Mm-hmm. You know how, like, all the colours are muted, and we'll talk a bit about that later, on the Isle Kingdoms, but the sea is bright blue and there's a lot of colour. I feel like there's some kind of sea magic that people should be, or that something should be able to access. Also, we hear a lot about the Emerald Sea and the sailors that don't come back and the treacherous waves of the Emerald Sea. And I just wonder if there's some magic at play there. If there's some, like, I don't know if it's another creature or something else that is harnessing the magic of the sea. And there's several things, and I'm just going to keep an eye out for it from now on. It's like the parts of the earth, isn't it? The sea, the sky, the land.
Yeah.
All of them, I'm not sure, but I just have a feeling that there's magic in the ocean.
I mean, it will make sense because you had the ground, you had the sky, and when you had the sea is like between the both, because you had ground right under the sea, you had the sky. So why you're not gonna be able to have like some kind of magic? And the reason they take like the magic from the ground and the ground start to lose like color and power is because it's alive. So it's adds and the sky, it has like the wind, the moves and everything. The water has like the same principle. So I think it's something that we could maybe see, or is very possible as well.
You might have like a bleaching of corals effect.
Yeah.
Like if something drains the ocean magic.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like it'd be interesting, and it's like mega world building because it's another branch of the magic. We've only heard about the land and the sky, and obviously we learnt about the three brothers, and one of them commanded the sky, and there's no mention of anyone commanding the waves, but I just like it. Also in this scene there is a really subtle mention, and I'm always on the lookout for the information about the confiscated books, the censored books, and the ones that we found in King Tauri's secret vault in Iron Flame. We have another one where Violet's talking about the information on historical weather patterns that Tecarus provided her. We know that there was also there was older weather almanacs in King Tauri's secret vault. Why on earth are they hiding the history of the weather? Why are they hiding historic weather patterns? That to me says they're hiding more than that. So it's not just the historical weather patterns. One, are there weather wielders that are fundamentally changing the weather, and they don't want people to know how much they're changing it, so they're hiding the history of what weather actually does? Or two, are they trying to put the dragons off, or put the riders off flying their dragons over to the Isle Kingdoms because they don't want people to realise how corrupt they've become, or they don't even want the dragons to realise how corrupt they've become because they are channeling from the ground and not the sky, and take them off the land and they will realise that. So there's no hiding the fact that the dragons have become corrupt. Otherwise, why are they basically hiding the weather reports?
Yeah, that's like something really suspicious. We know that we have store wielders, and this can affect some small areas. But I don't see like why it's so important to have something so like basic or so vain as just the weather, unless there may be something related with other kind of magic or something. They just want to make sure that nobody else can track it, but it just doesn't make sense. Or maybe something about the walls, because we know that when Xaden is doing this Spartan Signet class, they put out ward. There's like a weather
ward,
ward.
yeah.
So I don't know if they can do that in a big scale. It's maybe the one Navarre has something with this affecting the weather from outside, so they can keep something
out.
Yes.
It's really suspicious. If anyone has got any ideas that we're missing on why on earth they would be hiding historic weather patterns, please comment on this video or send us a message on Instagram, or even just comment on any random reel. We will pick that up because I am on the lookout for anything to do with the weather.
Yeah. Something that caught my attention as well in this specific chapter and these lines was when Tecarus, or Tecarus from now on, is that he says it will be fascinating to see if after you go back on land, you recover your power. I don't know if maybe he was talking directly to Violet, because maybe he thinks that Violet is the one who commands the sky, and then he will have like more proof that she doesn't need to channel from the dragons or channel from the ground, because she is the one who can maybe channel from the sky. And something interesting that happened is that she is the only one who can keep the connection with Tairn and Andarna, when the rest of the squad dragons and griffons, they lose that connection with the riders and flyers.
Yeah, the one thing we don't know, so we know that she doesn't have her lightning wielding signet. The thing we don't know is if she's able to dream walk or mind walk while she's on the Isle Kingdoms. That would be the telling thing, won't it? But I just thought, Rebecca Yarros said there's only one person who can teach Violet about her signet.
Yes.
That becomes so much more interesting if it's Tecarus. I mean, Berwyn, but via Tecarus. That becomes so much more interesting. Because she would trust him, possibly. I mean, she doesn't trust him, does she? And Xaden doesn't trust him. But she would trust him more than she would listen to him, possibly.
Yeah. It gave me, like Star Wars vibes. Because when Anakin is with the Senator Palpatine, he is a man that you start to see that's like a little bit dodgy. But he has a lot of influence in Anakin. And then it's just by the end of the third movie that we find out that he is the Lord Sith that everyone was so worried about. So the big boss of the bad guys.
Yeah, I get it. I'm like totally convinced now. I'm going to come onto that hill and die with you on the hill. He leaves them with a bit of parting advice and he says, don't make a deal that you cannot keep. And this obviously is a nod to the Crovelin uprising, where the Crovelish couldn't uphold their part of the deal, so to supply the dragon eggs to Deverelli, who in turn would give the dragon eggs to Umbriel in return for their army. They were the middle person.
Yeah.
So it's a nod to that, isn't it? It's like telling you here that Deverelli are the ones that you don't break a deal with them because basically there'll be a midnight massacre. But Tecarus has obviously done a deal with them and he is withholding his part of the bargain. Otherwise, why would they let him live on the beach?
Yeah.
He's secured some land there. It's not just because he's a friendly neighbour, is it? He's doing something, whether that's trading or whether that's something more sinister. And I have a feeling it's probably more sinister.
Yeah. I remember that the first time when I was reading this, I took it more as a kind of like an embassy. So Tecarus is there with his own like private land, like other countries can have with agreement with other countries. In that embassy, you have your own rules, not the rules from the country where you live.
It's not a holiday home. You think it's like a...
Yeah, there's more like something between the two cities.
That's even more terrifying if he's Venin.
Yeah, he's getting like a lot of power.
Yeah.
Political power, and then he can rule as he wants.
I wonder if it's where he goes to get away from the lure of the magic to steal.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Tecarus feels like, Terwyn feels like a break. If he really is Berwyn,
yeah,
he must feel just like Xaden when he goes there.
Well,
although he doesn't feel the resistance, does he?
No, because he's embracing the power of the ground. But when he's like on the other side, we're still saying that he's still Tecarus. So I don't know if he's still like holding some magic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to keep an eye on him.
Keep an extra close eye on Derwin.
So 20 hours after this scene, Tecarus has gone already. He probably will be already by this time in the Varelli. The squad are flying. They cross the edge when the magic had the limits, and then they feel it. Tairn is the one who just started going down. Since Andarna, even Violet, she goes like forwards and backwards because of like a big shake from Tairn. And she was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I never thought that we are so dependent on the magic or the strength."
He says he's startled and he admits here a weakness. And this is totally out of character for Tenenak. Like, he wouldn't admit that he was ever weak or anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I first read it, I thought, oh, this is rushed. This isn't his character. This is like a classic thing that you would pick up in a beta read where you're like the character acts completely different to how you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's that at all. I think the magic is genuinely making him much more
vulnerable.
No, the opposite. And then when it takes it away, that's his true personality. Just
Yeah.
like Xaden. Xaden's true personality would be, without all that pressure of rebellion, as Riddick says, would be exactly how he is on Deverelli. Take away the corrupted power from Tairn. He's actually a decent, reasonable person that isn't always spouting about his lineage and afraid to admit that he's weak.
Yes, because Violet, she said that she feels naked, that she feels weak after such a long time feeling the magic inside her. Then they take the power away, and then she said that, that I'm feeling really bad, and even she feel like pity for Jack Barlow, because she said this is how he feels when it's like with no magic at all, then she feel like pity for him. So I'm thinking here as well that Tairn might feel the same. Maybe he feel like naked, he feel vulnerable, and that's why he is like open and saying that I didn't realize how dependent we are from the magic.
Yeah. Andarna sinks.
Yes. What does it mean?
So you'd think, wouldn't you, that Andarna could still access the power from the sky while she's over the ocean.
Yes.
Unless there was another chunk of magic that was intercepting it, and that is the ocean magic. Because I thought at first, like, hang on, is this a sign that she is actually channeling from the ground? I couldn't make sense of it until you throw in the fact that there might be magic in the ocean, and that is why you can't access the power of the sky over the ocean. So it's blocking, like you said, it's between the sky and the ground, and
like a neutral.
Yeah. Otherwise, like, there's a potential that she is still channeling. She's channeling from the ground by accident, but I just don't think that's the case, because otherwise, why would Violet still be able to talk to them? Why would the Irids be so like convinced that that her magic was different? Why is there a reference in the previous chapters that we covered to Violet wanting to pluck the power directly out of the sky to make a rune, which is what she's been doing to make her runes with Andarna's magic? I just think that is that is because of the impact of the ocean. I don't know. What do you think?
Something that we have to have in consideration is that we don't know yet when a baby dragon is born if they start channeling from the ground. Nobody has to teach him, or if there's a elder or dragon like Xaden or Tairn teaching the dragon how to channel. You know, like when the assassins of the Venin, when they are not riders, they are like maybe like a scribe. Somebody has to teach him how to do it. So I'm not sure if maybe when the baby dragon is born, Andarna, she had like, yes, she can have this connection with the sky, but because she's in an environment when everyone is channeling from the ground, so maybe the elders, dragons around her, they are teaching her like, no, this is what you had to do, this is how you reach to this power. So she's doing it just because it's what the people or the dragons told her to do. Once she crossed the ocean, when she loses that connection, she falls, but then she starts to recover as well. And I don't know if I may be is here because she is a Irid, and she maybe had this like connection with the sky. She quick by instinct start to channel from the sky. That could be like an explanation maybe, but like I said, at the moment we don't know when that dragon is born, what they do.
It checks out. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. But I was thinking exactly the same, like if she can channel from the sky, why she's falling,
why is she dropping? Yeah. But I can guarantee, like I can't guarantee this, but my first thought, again here, was that possibly it was rushed, it was an editing error, but it's not, is it? There's a reason, and we'll figure it out, and it'll be blindingly obvious, and we'll come back.
So they're being affected, and Tairn is the one who said like, we've been cut off our communication, and that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 22.
Epigraph. It was whispered in academic circles that Corden had supplied troops and weaponry for the Second Croveland Uprising, but the research has led me across the Arctile Ocean to Deverelli, known to our kingdom as the treacherous Isle of Merchants, who, to my surprise, may not have been the source of the arms, but perhaps the broker, subjugated the Second Uprising of the Croveland people by Lieutenant Colonel Asher Sorrengail. So this is geography, right? Everyone thought it was Corden because of the shipping route. That's how Deverelli, that's how you get to Deverelli, that's how Deverelli gets to the ground. But you just made me think about Terwin and whether actually there was some support from Corden in that deal.
Yeah.
Because he wanted the dragons too. He wanted the dragon's egg.
We know that there's wyverns because they can't get dragons, but why they can't get dragons is because they are inside the walls and they can't access directly for the eggs. So what happens if they get dragons?
And dragons are just like, they're bad. We don't bond with those guys. Don't they?
Well, we don't know how much they know about the dragons, like how much they know about feather tails. They know they have the gifts, the special gifts that maybe they can steal or somehow.
Yeah.
That's why feather tails are so important.
Yeah.
Like stopping time, for example. Or God
but
knows what
feather
else.
tails are only feather tails. I mean, the Irids are only feather tails because they refuse to fight. They don't choose a tail, do they? Whereas Andarna is an Irid and she chose a scorpion tail. So they can. They just don't want to.
Yes. But when I say feather tails, it's more about when they are golden.
The
They
baby
have
ones.
a special gift they lose when they start to grow after the dreamless sleep. So we start the chapter with Violet saying, "Holy shit, it's hot in here." And then we start to see like a description of the place. We see this like ocean with turquoise water. I think it's like turquoise and aqua. We see the city, they're like hiding underneath the trees.
Yeah. Do you think that it's a coincidence that it's called Matthias, like Rhiannon's surname?
Yeah, I was thinking the same. When I saw the name, like, oh, it's like Rhiannon. So I was just wondering if maybe Rhiannon, at some point, the family, like 650 years ago, they actually were from Deverelli. That's what she had. That
And when they
family
unified,
name. And then when they unified, they went to Navarre.
Yeah, I mean, it's spelt different, and it is potential that it's just a coincidence that it's not. Yeah, it's not the same, but it sounds the same. That is a homonym. That would be a homonym. Yeah, so maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe there's some link to the Matthias family.
Yeah, maybe it's just giving you the information that people come to Navarre from all around the world, I guess. This world, islands and everything.
Yeah, I guess the thing that gets me is that they don't believe in gods, but they do call the continent Amoralis after Amari. And Rhi is the closest known depiction of Amari, or the closest looking to the only physical depiction of Amari. And I don't know, this feels like Rhi possibly has more of a connection to Amoralis. Okay, we get a description of the island here. There's soft green hills directly behind the beach, dotted with stone structures. Feels a bit like maybe Santorini, like very nice place. However, the perplexing colour reminds Violet of the last bit of wool when the dye is running out. So the colours are all muted, they're like faded. I was wondering about why that could be the case, and I came up with 3 ideas. So I think possibly it's to do with the level of magic in the ground. Number 1, the Isle Kingdoms never had magic, so they were always a little bit paler. Number 2, they previously had magic like hundreds of years ago, maybe even thousands of years ago, because the palace itself is over 1,000 years old, which is insane. That could have been drained somehow in the past by an ancient king or a horde of Venin, and then they went to the continent. They went to the Barrens, and then slowly but surely the magic is returning, but just it's too weak at the moment, and that's why it's so bland, and that's why the colour's not there. Or 3, it is a totally different kind of magic, and again, I'm going to talk about ocean magic, but that nobody can kind of channel. But it could be there is a potential that if you were on an island and you were surrounded by the ocean, you could somehow find a way of harnessing that magic. But my gut feeling is just because of the 1,000-year-old castle, and there was that one reference from Jacinia about an ancient king who lived 1,000 years before Navarre even existed.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a feeling that the Isle Kingdoms had magic in the past, but it was drained. And now it's like slowly coming back. You know how when you see old like buildings that have been demolished,
mm-hmm.
and the nature slowly takes them over?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's that.
That is really interesting. Start thinking, after we're talking about that maybe there are like different kind of magics. So maybe we have like ground, sky, maybe water. So it could be that, maybe there's a kind of magic that the dragons or the riders, they can't see because something so different. Because it reminds me when Tairn and Violet, they were out of the walls, and she said like, oh, the magic field now is stronger here. And Tairn said it's because now you're like stronger, you can detect magic easily. So now you can see what before it was invisible for you.
Mm.
So I think maybe it could be other kind of magic that is right now invisible for
but
dragons
even
and riders.
Yeah, and even the Davarelli, they can't feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's gone though, and it's just slowly coming back, but not quickly enough or not materially enough for anyone to actually be able to harness it.
Mm-hmm.
There is an Isle Kingdom later where they are able to wield and they are able to communicate. So there is stronger magic there than there is in the other. That is returned to there quicker than it had at Davarelli. So there's definitely something going on. And I just don't believe that there would be magic in just one spot on the Earth. Maybe like the center of the biggest island might have more magic. The coastal area because of the ocean. So
far we don't know what is the rule in this world about how the magic appears there.
So obviously we're making up our own. And it's the ocean. No,
it's the nation, yes.
I think there's something to do with that palace. That when they go to the palace later, they find out it's 1,000 years old, which is just suspiciously like connected to that, maybe that ancient king. And something happened thousands of years ago, or 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, there was a book with a reference that didn't go anywhere else. So maybe now it's like little by little.
Yeah, she's planting seeds, isn't she?
Also, something interesting about this island, when they're flying around, they say there are crossbows all around the island, which is kind of like weird because, it's an island that is basically dedicated for peace. But then why they had this massive crossbow? They're like basically designed to kill dragons. And we don't know if that's the only intention, kill the dragons or dragons and riders. Because maybe they think the dragons are the bad guys. Yeah,
it might also be designed to kill Wyvern.
Yes.
We don't know. But yeah, it feels like they're like firebringers.
Yeah.
But it could be that in their history, they have been attacked by dragons thousands of years ago. Like, they've got a rich history and they're not hiding it from people.
Yes. The thing that caught my attention was when Violet said that for an island that's dedicated for peace, they look like they're like ready for war. And that is like one of the most famous quotes from Publius Flavius Vegetius Renatus. There's an Roman author. He's the one who brings this famous quote that if you want peace, you need to prepare for war. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe this kind of like a little bit of reference to that.
Yeah, it's like all those ridiculous nuclear submarines, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we've only got it because we want peace.
Yes, just in case to make sure that nobody is going to do something stupid. But we're doing something more
We're
stupid.
The ones, that actually has it. And it would be much safer if nobody had them.
Mm-hmm.
So the crossbolts, they're definitely protecting themselves, aren't they?
They definitely don't want the dragons or wyverns or big flying creatures coming to the island. And on the way, they're shouting to them as
Firebringers, yeah.
Yes.
But the crossbolts don't. I learnt this because I read ahead. The crossbolts don't rotate, so as soon as the dragons get past them, they can't. They only protect the ocean.
Yeah.
And Tairn is like, they don't think much to our intelligence. They don't think we're intelligent enough to get past them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I read ahead, so I'll keep quiet.
Yeah. Something interesting as well is when they look in the animals around, there's a delphinium, I think it's called.
Yeah, delphinum.
Yes. So again, another reference there. We are in that war, in that line, and maybe by the end of the fifth book, we're just going to understand why we don't have more dragons, griffins, or magic.
It's like, yeah, that's our ending.
Yeah.
And there's another hint later in this chapter, or just shortly in this chapter, that I think that's our ending. Well, we don't have any magic. But isn't it weird how some of the creatures have modern day names? Some of them don't.
So we have horses.
We have horses, pigs, butterflies, sheep, goats.
Yeah.
But dolphins, no. They're called delphinum. Odd.
They finally made it to the beach when Tecarus is waiting for them. Atron is having like a discussion, an argument with Grey Dog, and Grey Dog is just shouting, "I can't understand you!" Like, doesn't matter how much you can shout. I don't understand.
Snots all over him.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, but it's here when it's clear that every single one of the riders, they lose the communication with the dragons.
I just had a thought. This is the second time in the book that Atron and Riddick are fighting.
Yes.
Do you think that's a good sign? That is not a good sign, is it?
I was thinking the same until we got to that part when they were like playing. So they were just like making the other one wet or something.
Yeah, but how can you trust someone that keeps playing jokes on you?
I think maybe that's the relationship they have. They're like maybe like big brother and small brother, even when they're like the same age or something like this. Maybe that's the thing that's perfect for them. They have like the same age and they have like the same kind of humor.
Maybe Atron was like, I know exactly who and what you are.
You are one of mine.
Like a total knobhead, and so am I. So we're gonna be fine. The thing I was wondering was how long it took Xaden to realise there was no connection, because Sorrengail still currently isn't talking to him. He knows Sorrengail really well because he knows she's in pain. He says that, doesn't he? That she's in pain, they can't stay there, and Violet doesn't even realise.
Yeah.
And she feels guilty about it. But
I guess it's because obviously Xaden is more paying attention to the physical stuff, and Violet, because she can hear the voices, she doesn't notice any other stuff. Yeah. So Violet is the one who is talking with Mira, and then Mira is like, "Oh, do you think that maybe you can tell to that because you're born to dragons, or maybe it's because Andarna?" And Violet has no idea.
Yeah, so the natural thing to think here is that it's because of Andarna. And obviously you have your thoughts around Andarna being the one that bonded first. And we've had some really interesting comments around this. And one in particular was like, that is why Andarna couldn't break the bond, because Leo, the other Irid, was so adamant. Like, was really wanted to know who was the first one. And he seemed relieved when it was Tairn. He was like, this is going to work then. When Andarna comes back, that's obviously a reason that bond could not easily be broken, possibly.
Yeah.
So that's the obvious way. But I was starting to think, like, Rebecca Yarros never gives us the answer on the page. Like, she hardly ever does. So if Mira says, do you think it's because you bonded too, or do you think it's Andarna? It quite possibly is neither of those things, and it's a different one. So I was like casting my net out and wondering what it could be. It could be that Violet is somehow connected to the gods. I mean, we know that she's connected to at least
Dune.
Dune, and we strongly suspect that she's in favour with Malik. Is there another reason? Is she able to channel magic of the sky when the others can't? Or is she... I know it's wild, and it's probably because of Andarna, but I just wanted to think of like maybe what if it's just Violet? We have suspected in the past, or in the last episode actually, that when she wanted to pluck the power directly from the sky and make the rune, is she able to do that? Just like a Venin is able to take magic directly from the ground with no channeling source, we do have a suspicion that Violet is able to do the same thing, with or without Andarna.
Something that we found out later on is that when somebody is dedicated to a god, is some of the it's going to say benefit. They have maybe a special power or something. So we don't know if because Violet has been touched by a god, she is maybe kind of like a magical creature or
conduit.
Yeah, something that's connected to the power of the gods. And maybe she is the reason for that connection between Tairn and Andarna, because it's just day two that is working. We always think it's because of the dragon, but maybe it's not the dragons, it's Violet.
Is there anyone else there that we suspect is one of those 6 strongest signets? Just Xaden. We don't think Riddick is, do we?
No, he's just a nice wielder. A really good one.
We don't think Mira is either.
I haven't seen anybody else doing words. I can't remember right now if there's any mention about it. But it's the same way on Rihanna. Rihanna so far, it seems that she had a unique
yeah, I just
signet.
wonder if those other riders, because of that connection,
being one of the 6 most powerful,
they could all communicate, and maybe Xaden can communicate with Sorrengail, but she's not communicating with him, so he doesn't know. But the key thing is that the bond's broken between Violet and Xaden, which suggests it's because the bond is broken between Sorrengail and Tairn.
He said that he can't communicate with the other ones, so that means the bond is affected as well. One of the things that Mira bring to this mission is some runes as well, and one of the runes is to protect it from the sunlight.
Yeah, but did you notice it didn't work?
Yes, because just when she going to see Xaden,
it's like a big nose.
Yeah.
Unless it's not instant, but I have a sneaky suspicion that those runes would work if they were made with Andarna's power. But they weren't. Trissa did them, so they were done with Trissa's dragon, who's channeling from the ground.
Yeah, but I was convinced that when you make a rune, you put the magic there, then regardless where it is, inside the continent or outside, the magic is still inside the rune. Because this means that if you take the research from Daddy Sorrengail to the island, then that rune is not going to be a problem because it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work. So when we have the first class with Trissa, she explains how they work. They siphon the residual magic from the air, don't they?
Yeah.
And there isn't any. So I think it depends on the type of rune. If you want it to continuously work, like the mage lights are runes.
Yeah.
It can pull basically the really leftover magic that's around in the air, and that's what they work from. But there isn't any on the Isle Kingdoms anymore, so they can't work. But possibly, if you can channel from the sky, it still works. The big question, and we've said this already tonight, is can Violet dreamwalk on the Isle Kingdoms? If she can, that's conclusive evidence, isn't it, that Andarna's power is different. But I'm pretty sure we already know that Andarna channels from sky. I'm pretty sure it says it on the page, otherwise we wouldn't be so convinced. So, yeah, I think if she was using runes made with Andarna's power, then she wouldn't get sunburnt.
Yeah.
The other interesting bit about this interaction is that they say they need to keep the runes secret, otherwise that opens them up to the kind of trade that nobody wants to think about. And I just wanted to make the point that I'm absolutely amazed that runes have not got at least to Hedotis, because Xaden's mum was living amongst runes for years. She must have known. I mean, maybe not. Fen didn't seem to want to keep her close.
Yeah. We know that she's been living in Riorson house minimum for like maybe 11 years because after the agreement was done, she has to move there. So 9 months to be pregnant, and then 10 years rising sign.
I hate her. She left on his 10th birthday.
Yeah.
I hate her.
So I'm kind of like hard to believe that after, like 11 years minimum, living in the house, watching all the runs around, she never had information what it is, how it works, or nothing else to just going back to her island and do something similar. Like maybe she thought it's something that riders can do, and because she wasn't a rider, there was no point.
Tecarus gives them news that the dragons are, I don't want to say welcome, but they are able to hunt in the forest. But he makes a point of saying humans are not on the menu. Would dragons really eat the humans under Narelle? Do they eat humans?
Maybe the one from 600 years ago, they do it just to kill, but I think it was clear that dragons don't like the taste of flesh, human flesh, because I think there was a reference that like gooey, yeah. The humans are like gooey, and they don't eat humans because of that. But wyverns, they love human flesh, so they're opposite.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why.
Snack on Sawyer's leg.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So maybe that's why Tecarus and you can't eat humans because he just gets to a trip with wyverns.
Yeah.
So another sample.
Usually he's saying, "Do not eat the humans," or he's like, "Eat the humans."
Yes, we don't not eat our humans until I tell you to do.
Tonight we feast on their bones. What is that from?
That was, I think, Iron Flame.
I feel like it's from a movie. Oh, never mind.
No. I can't remember if it was one of the big fights on Iron Flame or the last one on Berwyn. Yeah, but definitely Imperial.
Okay.
So Violet goes to see Xaden because at this point Xaden has been like a part of the group. He just looking to the sea, giving the back to everyone. So Violet's like thinking, oh, is he okay? She was like, hey. And Xaden looking at her, and he had like a big smile, or had like a smile, like an honest smile. And like, hey. And then she was like, okay, he's fine, but it's like weird because he looked like happy. And then she's like, well, we have time to have a nap before we go into the capital. You want to come and go for a nap? And he said like, no, I will stay here for a little bit. You go. And he just like feel in peace. Even there's a point where she grabbed like her hand, put it in the chair, like, can you feel it? It's just like calm, that there's no rush there. I need to channel the power to save people, or there's no magic here that I need to be concerned about anything. It's just peace. And then Violet like really considering the offer from Tecarus.
Yeah, I have two things to say about this. Number one, this is our happy ending, right? Andarna can break the bonds between Sorrengail and Xaden and Tairn and Violet. They can live, but there's no magic. She breaks all the bonds. There's no pain because Sorrengail doesn't need to be there. Xaden doesn't need to channel because he can't. There is no magic there. It's heartbreaking because there is no bonds between dragons and riders, and effectively Violet loses her first love, like her first true love, which is Tairn and Andarna. And Xaden loses his, who was Sorrengail. It's really sad, but they can still be together.
Yeah.
And this is the story of how we no longer have access to magic. So there's that bit that possibly we could have a happy ending.
Yeah.
But a bittersweet one. And then I just want to pick up on the phrasing he uses. There's no power. There's like no taunting reminder that he can save everyone if he just reaches for a bit of power. He's talking about saving everyone. He's not talking about taking power for power's sake.
More powerful.
Xaden is a different type of Venin, and I'm going to stand by that. I don't think he's got... And I don't care what people say about Lynx and his shadow wielding. Xaden's not being replaced because he's not gone.
Yeah.
He's totally going to go deeper though, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it will be great, and then it will all be happy.
It's going for Maeve status, I think.
I think.
I mean, he is one of the powerful six, definitely. But he's going to be now one of the powerful Venin.
Yeah, but one that's just basically working from the inside to bring them down.
We know so far magic likes balance. So if you want magic because you want power, you lose your soul. But he's not doing it because he wants to be powered. He just needs enough to beat somebody.
Yeah, I can't see it ending the same way as like the Star Wars bit where Anakin goes bad and he stays bad. And yes, he does something good in the end. But like
mentally he loses himself.
Yeah, I can't see it going like that because that worked so well because it was a prequel. So you knew Darth Vader was bad. And then they went back, didn't they? And they filled in his backstory. And that's what happens in Wicked as well. They fill in the backstory and they change the story. And it works because it was a prequel. I just don't know that it works if you make your characters fall in love with that person from the beginning. And you don't know that they're going to go back. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay optimistic. He's a different kind of Venin. That's the only answer that I will let myself live with for at least 2 years.
Well, Rebecca Yarrow said there's no story without Xaden, but that has different meanings.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to the next
Okay,
chapter.
so that was the end of chapter 22. So, moving on.
Chapter 23?
Chapter 23.
So, the epigraph. It's a long one. The uprising suddenly failed overnight on December 13th, 433 AU, in what has been called the Midnight Massacre. The foreign troops disappeared, and the rebels were killed in their beds by Poromish forces. It is not their disappearance that strikes this scholar as particularly vicious, but their obvious betrayal. There is a saying in Narelle, the word is the blood. When they make a trade, broker a deal, it is considered law. I cannot help but wonder what part of the deal the Crovelin rebels did not uphold. Subjugated, the second uprising of the Crovelin people by Lieutenant Colonel Asher Sorrengail.
The first time when I read this, there's a mention of the day 13 in a massacre. We have something like that in our real story. And it's the story of the Prince Philippe from France against the Templars.
The Knights Templar, yeah.
The Knights Templar, yes. So wasn't Friday the 13th that when he ordered to eradicate all the Templars. And the reason was because he was so much dead with them, because they were like a massive power. And he was so much in debt with them that he was a king, so he created this law that they were illegal. And everything they had done, they had to just be eradicated. So that's how he cleared his debts with them. And there was a massacre as well. So I was thinking day 13 is like always related to bad luck or a bad day. And we see this in this book as well.
Yeah, that's so interesting. We've got no way of verifying whether December 13th, 433 AU was in fact a Friday. But it could have been a really bad Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Zanal was not with them that day. That is a far more intelligent relationship that you have picked with the date. I just know that December 13th is Taylor Swift's birthday.
Oh, maybe that is what Rebecca Yarrow was actually thinking.
Pick a date, any date, December 13th. It's important.
I mean, we know how much she loves Taylor Swift. Like, some of the songs, majority of the songs, are inspiration for this book. So maybe that's like another just tribute for Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I think also this is being set up. So basically, if you take the epigraph at face value, we're being set up for the test that Narelle is going to give to Violet, in that she wants her to speculate about what happened on the December the 13th. Why did the rebel forces withdraw? Why were they killed? Why were the Crovelish rebels killed in their beds. It shows that Asher, that Daddy Sorrengail is, he knows, but he's not saying it. And he's making her think. He's saying, I cannot help but wonder which part of the deal. I wonder what strikes this scholar as odd. But he knew. He just didn't write it down because he needed Violet to figure it out for herself. So this is just another, like, an epigraph that's setting up Violet to question, what was it? I still don't get why it's so bad that they were trading in dragon eggs. I mean, I get it. It's bad they're stealing eggs from their mothers. That's bad. But again, it comes down to the, like, we've got dragons, nobody else has allowed them type thing.
Yeah, maybe that was like the biggest mistake to think that they had dragons, because they don't have dragons. The dragons have them, and they can't like put any negotiation with that.
What if they're Umbriel, although it's the like island of war? What if Umbriel was actually trying to rescue the dragons, the baby dragons, from further corruption from the other dragons?
Yeah.
What if they didn't want them because they wanted to use them to fight? Even though, I mean, of all the islands that like fighting, it's possibly the goddess of war. However, maybe the goddess of war is actually peaceful, because they believe that she's there to kind of like prevent war rather than actually stimulate war. But I don't know, maybe they were trying to rescue the baby dragons.
For me, what is like really incredible to think about is so far the 6 dens of the dragons, they are always in the continent, and we couldn't find like other like kind of dragon that coming from the islands, and they were looking for protection and the walls on Avar, but no, they were in the same piece of land. And we will see if maybe they are from the island somewhere, or if they're gonna be from the Barrens, and then every single dragon is from the continent.
Yeah, I really think the Irids are from the Barrens. I wonder if the dragons just were basically putting the wards up to keep all the magic for themselves. Maybe the wards stopped the land from being drained.
Yeah, no. It's almost sad that we don't know. Like...
No, it doesn't, because Jack's in his cell and he's drained that. Never mind. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm spitballing.
So after the power nap, they get some horses and they go into Matthias. They go into the capital and they start to have like some chat when they're on the way.
There's a mention of what we need is a communications rune, if such a thing exists.
Yeah.
I mean, if that isn't concrete proof that something exists, there is a communication rune. I just wonder if this is, and I know that we will constantly speculate over the rune on Brennan's hand, but this is, to me, the perfect way that Rebecca Yarros would tell us the answer in a completely non-related way. Possibly that rune that is on Brennan's hand is a communication rune. It wasn't there later on in the book. He puts his hand there and she like notes it's not there. What if it just glows when someone needs to talk to him? A missive arrived at that time in Iron Flame when she saw the rune on his hand. What if it like is a communication rune and it just flares when he needs to go somewhere? And he vanished, didn't he? Disappeared.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe this is like a less interesting version. But let's face it. I mean, I got to say it. Violet's second signet was a bit of a disappointment to me. I mean, it's quite amazing that she can dream walk and she can mind walk. But I was really hoping for like one that was much more what she was at her core, like the truth sayer or the amplifier, or like something more to do with who she was, not like just what she might need. And I am still a bit disappointed with her second signet. I'm sure it'll be amazing and I'm sure it'll come in clutch and everything. But it does feel like the rune, we're speculating, it's a reanimated wyvern version of Brennan. It's a masking rune. It's something like, we know that if he's really Venin and he's that high up, he doesn't need a masking rune. It could be something as mundane as a communication rune, couldn't it? Let's face it, like, we could be equally... And I've said at the beginning of this, like, I don't have any right to be disappointed by the ending. I don't have any right to be disappointed by Violet's signet, because that is the story, and that's Rebecca's story. But I can still feel like it's a bit different to what I expected and a bit underwhelming. And she did say that, though, to be fair. Rebecca Yarros did say it will be a bit underwhelming.
Yeah, I think maybe the problem is not the signet, because I think the signet is awesome and the possibilities are like endless. I think it's the way they have been everything built up with the information that we have, how everything was pointing out to something, and then the result is kind of contradicting those rules, because signet is about like the core of the person. She is a dream walker doesn't reflect her personality or her core. Yes, there was a time when she was wondering if Andarna was dreaming or what she was dreaming. That was just one thought. That is not her core.
Yeah, it does say that, doesn't it? It says, but I think actually if you're going to link it to her core, she needs to know what somebody's thinking. She needs to know, she wants into Xaden's head, and she gets into his head when he's dreaming, when his defenses are down. So I get it. I get that you can link it to that. And we'll see, won't we? We've only seen 10% of the signet. It's going to be awesome. I just think, like, we're thinking of all these, like, amazing speculations of what the rune could be. There on the page, it says there's a communication rune.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as that Brennan has.
There was a time when I thought there was a communication rune as well, because I think we still don't know exactly what happened in that scene when Xaden was with Violet and Xaden's rune, and then Gary was like shouting at Xaden from outside. We were assuming that Xaden will be exactly the same as Violet, like with walls, their sun shield.
So there might be a like rune on one of the daggers that.
Yeah, maybe they can communicate even when it's a ward or something. That's for me. We're like, it has to be that, or maybe Xaden doesn't.
Well, we thought it was
Garrick's
first signet, didn't we?
Yeah, we thought that he was like a sound seeker or
not like an air wielder.
Yeah. So on the way to the capital, Xaden starts to creeping out everyone, because now he looks that he's really happy and nobody can understand why or how, because even Violet said that Xaden is a lot of stuff, but happy is not one of them.
Yeah. Riddick questions if it's because of all the pressure, the fact that his dad died, left him in charge of a rebellion. Violet wonders if it's actually those things that have led them together. The way she describes this is like two people coming together to make something new. That is interesting, because Narelle later talks about how the Deverelli people don't worship gods. People of Amoralis think is death, but is like divine intervention by Malik. They call that science. What the Amoralis think is being blessed by Loyal, and that's love, they think it's alchemy. And it relates so much to how Violet describes her relationship with Xaden. But anyway, I think they would be together. I think there is something, and I don't know if I'm letting my reading of other books in this genre dictate my view of this, but I do think that they are meant to be together. And I don't know whether it's some kind of like connection via gods, or whether it's actually a connection to do with the signets. You know, we know that the first 6 had complex personal interrelationships, but I don't know whether when you find your balanced signet, and we've got shadow, we've got lightning, which is the light. I wonder if you are meant to be together and you're kind of fated to be together in some way.
Yes, it has to be something related to that, because we always say magic like balance. Rebecca Yarros like balance as well. So Xaden and Violet, they complement each other, and she said as well, they are just endgame. So you can call it destiny, fate, but regardless of everything was happening, they two, I think, yeah, they're destined to be together. So talking a little bit about everything, Redog, he's not happy with the horse. He would rather be in the dragon. Violet's like not sure. Even Redog say like, no, she's with me. She prefers dragons as well. And then it's like trying to say something good about Violet. Like, no, she is really good with horses as well. So Xaden like, oh yeah, you two ride a lot when they were like younger. And everyone like, what just happened here? Like, Xaden is talking to Dane, and then we were like, is that a tricky question? Then he just carry on, and he replies to Xaden, saying, yes, we did a lot every single time when our parents, they were traveling and we had the chance, we did, except in Lucera, because Lucera was really cold.
Yeah, do you genuinely think they just don't ride horses in Lucerys because it's cold?
I don't know if maybe it's because the place is covered in snow and then the horses can't go there. They need like huskies.
Yeah.
Huskiden.
Yeah, Huskiden.
Another name.
Yeah, they possibly do have huskies, don't they? I hadn't thought of that. We're 100% going to Lucerys, aren't we, in the next book? We've got to meet Granny Daxton.
Yes, that's going to be another interesting part of this puzzle.
And it's going to be freezing.
Mira, she's been there, and she says as well that it was really cold. So I don't know if it's a place where it always is cold, or it might be.
Well, it's like really far north, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you'd think that Tyrrendor was like more cold because it's much higher, but it's further south. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We need some like geography and climate books that are probably in Tecarus' secret vault. Anyway.
They asked to Xaden as well if he was like riding a lot of horses when he was little. And he said that, well, I think I rode before I walked. They're talking a little bit about all the stuff, how beautiful is the place. It's there in Deverelli, everything built with the trees. And Rita is the one who said, don't you feel that like the place when we live in is just like a shithole when you compare it with all this? And say then like, well, speak by yourself, because for me Aration is like the second most beautiful thing I ever seen. And he's just looking to Violet, and Violet's like, oh. So they finally arrive to the shop after doing some work with Dan. So they go inside.
What caught my attention here was that she described the bookstore as not quite as big, like not anywhere near as big as the archives, 1/10 of the size of the archives, and about the same size as a bookshop she visited in Kaldea with her dad. An author would not use, surely, a fictional location that we have not been to as a way of describing a current shop or current thing, if that wasn't going to be important, right? So we can vaguely picture how big the archives are because we've been there in our imaginations, and we have had the descriptions of what size the archives is. We have never been to a bookshop in Kaldea. So how can we use that as a visual aid to get the right size for the shop? I don't think that's what it's there for. I feel like it's there for another reason. We possibly will enter that bookshop at some point in book 4 or book 5. And then when we're like, that's the bookshop they were talking about, we might get a flashback, or we might find out that some more of Daddy Sorrengail's research is hidden in this bookshop and they're all linked and she has to travel around and find extra research. But it just jumped out as me because normally, surely an author would say it's as big as something that you know before or that you've been to before, or it's as big as something you know in real life. And that would be the comparator.
Yeah, because as a reference, it's not clear and we still don't know, is it a big shop or is it a small shop?
No, we don't know.
It's as big as the one that we saw before.
That we didn't go to.
Like, okay, that's really
Weird.
useful.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we'll go there, but possibly in a future book.
Yeah, has to be, because otherwise that reference just make no sense.
Yeah.
They get attacked in the moment when they mention the name of the person they're looking for. They're looking for Narelle, And there's a few young people attacking Xaden and Violet and Mira. But obviously, they are no soldiers. They are no physical
They're a bit
capacity.
incompetent, aren't they?
Yeah, they're taken down like really easily. And when the riders take the control of the situation, is when we see the old lady going from the top, and then she starts to see like the situation. Violet, she realized that's the woman that she's looking for. And then she said, I'm guessing that you are Narelle. And then she looks Violet and says, and I'm guessing that you are Asher Sorrengail's daughter. They come here for the books that he wrote for you.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, my heart stops.
Really?
That's what she said, not me.
Oh, I was going to say, it didn't have that much of a like physical reaction for me. Are we not going to talk about Narelle's hair?
The silver hair.
Narelle has silver hair!
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if we're talking just because it's an old lady and just a description is silver, like silver fox or
No, absolutely
something
not.
referent with the age.
Surely not. We get grey hair descriptions for old people. We get white hair descriptions for old people in these books.
Yeah.
We do not get silver hair. Like, silver hair is reserved for people who have silver hair.
Mm-hmm.
Violet has silver hair. Theophany has silver hair. The people on Umbriel have silver hair. I have a feeling that Narelle is somehow related to Dune.
Mm-hmm.
She says they're not religious in the next chapters. She talks about how they're not, but possibly I get some vibes that Asher Sorrengail was important for Narelle.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's quite an age gap, but she also does not like Lilith. We'll get to this in the next episode.
Yeah.
She seems to not really think much to Lilith. So there feels like there is a caring there. Narelle cares for Asher. Whether it's like maybe a maternal feeling or whether it's because Asher Sorrengail did something for Narelle.
Mm-hmm.
Did he rescue her from Umbriel as part of his travels? Did he take her away from maybe a bad situation? Maybe not. Maybe she was always on Deverelli.
Yeah.
But there is something about her silver hair that it just... I think you fell for the trap. I think the trap is she's an old lady. She must have silver hair.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a real... I don't think Rebecca Yarros would be putting it there if it wasn't important.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about Narelle being... They're talking about Sori having silver hair. They're talking about, obviously, Theophany. But I think we've been trolled because naturally she's an old woman. We expect her to have silver hair. But I think if it was to do with her age, surely it would be described as white.
Yeah.
Or grey.
I think maybe she was the one who suggests to Asher take Violet to Dune because I'm protective or something, whatever.
Yeah, maybe it was her idea.
Yeah. Interesting.
Need to know more about Narelle. What's her story?
She has a bookshop. Asher, he was really into like looking for the truth or looking for information. So obviously between the two, they had like a really good relationship. So maybe he was looking for really rare books that he can provide to her as well.
Maybe.
But yes, that was the end of the chapter.
Yes. So now we'll move on to Oryx Auguries, which is part of the show where we recap our favourite theory from the week. I have so many favourite ones from this week. It's going to be really hard to pick. So the hope is that we will get to the pre-launch hype for book 4 eventually when it comes.
Yeah.
And we will stitch together all of our Oryx Auguries sections and run through our favourite theories of our kind of second read of Onyx Storm.
Yeah.
What is your favourite theory from this week? I think I know what it's going to be.
For me, the one from this episode is the Berwyn, Tecarus.
Oh my god, it's
That's
so good.
the one there right now for me. It makes totally sense.
Tairn for the win.
Tairn, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What's yours?
Oh my god.
You're going to do it again.
Yeah, I'm going to change my mind again. That one is great. See, now we've just talked about Narelle. I like that one. And her
That she
silver
is
hair.
maybe dedicated to do.
I'm going to go with there is some kind of magic in the ocean that remains untapped.
Mm-hmm.
And we will learn more about it.
Yeah, I like that too.
It's left field. It's weird. It's like a bit unhinged and feels unimportant, but I do think it's going to be important.
No, for me, kind of makes sense as well. So, yeah.
Sticking with the theme of precognition, the epigraph for chapter 24, which is the first chapter that we'll be diving into next week when we go through 24 to 26. She won't understand why you've kept her in the dark. You left too soon, left too many of your plans unfinished. Now we can only hope the bond between our daughters is strong enough to endure the paths they've chosen. They'll need each other to survive. Recovered, unsent correspondence of General Lilith Sorrengail.
So many things to say about this.
I know, but
already.
wait till next week. Shall we enter the interrogation chamber?
Okay, let's go into the interrogation chamber.
So the question from last week. So we know Mira and Drake will end up happily married with Broccoli. Not married to Broccoli, married to each other, and they have Broccoli. I hope that's clear. I don't think you can marry cats. Which other unlikely couples are we going to see in the series?
I see a lot of people talking about this. It's going to be Dan and Sloane. There's something going on there. And that could be maybe like the spark that Dan needs right now.
Yeah, I feel like, I totally agree that Sloane is, her foundation's been rocked. The way that, or her involvement in Lilith's death, she is feeling such heavy guilt around it. And I think she recognizes guilt when she sees it now. And she recognizes how guilty Dane feels about the whole situation. He didn't mean for Liam to get killed. Ultimately, he wanted the same thing. He wanted to protect Violet. Liam wanted to protect Violet. I cannot believe I'm saying this because Dane used to do my head in. But now Dane eyes here Atos, and that interaction later in the book when Sloane is siphoning to save Mira changes everything. He says something like, I'm going to hurt you. And he says, don't I know it? But he's not talking about physical pain. Can't wait to see where that goes.
Yeah, they could be like definitely the enemies to lovers.
Yeah, they're the real enemies to lovers. I would have said the same thing, but I'm going to cast around a little bit further because you've said that. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, some of them are not really that unlikely. Jacinia and Sawyer, obviously. I don't know. I feel like maybe, well, definitely Cat. And possibly Auric.
I think that she's going to get the crown.
I don't think Auric will get the crown.
It's yours.
I think she'll realise that crowns aren't important. And she'll have a total redemption where she falls in love. Like with Traeger. I'm not saying she loved him, but...
Yeah, I guess it would be awesome if maybe Tauri found out the Cam has been turned into a rider. He maybe can take us a traitor and then just like get rid of the privilege as a prince, like outcast his own son. And when he loses like all privilege, Cat maybe feel sorry or whatever, and then she get more interested in him as a person than as a prince.
Yeah, I don't think they've had any interactions to give us this vibe, but I would love for Kat to realise that crowns aren't important. And actually she's pretty powerful and
that she doesn't need a title or man to have
she's
some
strong.
value.
Yeah, but I do keep coming back to what Auric said, and we don't know that he was precogging at this moment, but he said, Holden will be king, and he will be a horrible king.
Yeah.
And I will die.
I think it was more something like he won't be able to stop it, or he won't be there. I can't remember he said that he will die. But
I think he says something like, I'm more likely to die fighting. I don't know. We should fact check that. It's quite fundamental.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week in the interrogation chamber, you can't bond Tairn or Andarna on Threshing Day. Who are you seeking out? Which dragon are you wanting to bond with? Providing that you get, like, up the stairs, across parapet, through threshing. Sorry, up the gauntlet, through threshing.
Survive presentation day.
Yeah, survive the steps on the way up to parapet, which is... I would definitely fall off. Judging by my performance on the side of the mountain this weekend, I would just slide down and take everybody out.
You didn't have ride the boats, so maybe that would be the difference for you.
Yeah. But neither did, like, Rhiannon and Violet. Just had, like, half a good one good shoe each.
Yeah. Sometimes that made the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'd had one good boot, if somebody had traded a walking boot with me, I wouldn't have slipped down the hill.
I think at some point I offer you my boots and you say no, so...
Yeah, because I would be like a clown with my tiny feet rattling around in your big shoes. Right, on that note, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at FaithfullyFantasyPod. We love hearing from you, particularly on Instagram. It's where we are most active, but we do also have a Discord. You can check out any extra information that you want to know about us or the show on faithfullyfantasy.com. I'm just going to throw in a little bit of what we're working on, because I'm so excited about it. I'm going to whisper because it's a secret.
Okay.
We are working. If you struggle to visualize what it might be like from the point of view of a rider, or a scribe, or a healer, or an infantry, you will want to keep an eye on what we are doing, because, I mean, that's all I can say. I don't want to give too much away, but it's looking really good, and I can't wait to share it. So, follow us over on Instagram. You can also possibly we'll be sharing more of it on YouTube.
Yes, definitely. If you subscribe as a Shadow Wheel or a Lightning Wheel, there you will definitely get all the visualization stuff. And with this, we have just one more thing to say. Thank you for listening to Faithfully Fantasy,
the husband and wife podcast talking all things Onyx Storm.
We'll see you next week with more theories, more deep dives, and of course, with more Faithfully Fantasy.
Bye!